Hello ladies and gentlemen, once again this is Jeremy Smith. Now guys, we just got done talking a little bit about the new Nikon D5 and the new D500, and I was going to also mention some things about the new Sony announcements as well, but that video got a little bit long, so I decided to make a separate video. Sony, I don't know, they've been in a very constant release cycle, pretty much every 6 months. Since the conception of the original A7 and A7R, Sony has had a new release. I mean, they just continue to go. They keep going on and on and on with more camera releases. We've had the the A7, the A7R, the A7S, the A7R2, the A7S2, the A7R2. And you're just thinking, man, how are we going to sort out all this alphabet soup? There's all these different cameras and all these different releases. Now, Sony is a very large company, and so I think Sony is very interesting, mostly because they are about as opposite from Nikon as you can get. Nikon, they're pretty conservative in following trends and things like that, but Sony, if they sense any change in the wind direction, they are headed off to go and pioneer new territory. So Sony, their outlook is entirely different. Now, in terms of mirrorless cameras, you guys know that Sony has been, they've been a very strong supporter of mirrorless, and a lot of people are starting to wonder if Sony's even going to continue to make DSLRs. And I have to say, guys, I'm pretty much in the same boat. I have no idea if Sony is going to continue on with their DSLRs a whole lot. And, of course, it surprises me not in the least bit that their latest announcement is a mirrorless camera. They now have announced the A6300. And this looks like a pretty interesting camera. Now, we see a lot of things here that we would expect to see, like 4K video. It can do 4K video at up to 100 megabits per second, and I would imagine that happens in the XAVC-S codec. Interestingly enough, though, the thing that actually gets me the most excited about this camera is the fact that it has a built-in microphone jack. For the longest time, I've wanted to use a Sony body to be able to use as a video camera only and use it as a secondary camera for my videos and things like that. But unfortunately, because of the lack of a input jack, that's something that's pretty much hampered that thought in my mind. Now, for doing a lot of the videos that I do here, like the one I'm recording right now, this sound is being recorded separately, so it makes no difference that I wouldn't have a microphone input. But whenever I'm shooting on location a lot, and shooting during live performances and things like that, it'd be very nice to have a small camera that I could attach my my Rode VideoMic Pro to and have a proper input jack. So seeing a a microphone input on this camera, it's something that's a very big deal for me. We do have a new focus system, 425 points. Just like with the Nikon D5 and D500, I'm not really going to get too hung up on these specs. Really, at the end of the day, it depends on how the camera performs, so I have to wait until I can get it into my hands to see how things actually work in practice. The numbers, so what? ISO range is up to 51,200 on this camera, which is pretty interesting. I do like that capability. Once again, have to get the camera out, take some raw files, put them in Lightroom, and see what happens. There's really no point in talking about cameras and doing the specs comparison until you see the performance of the camera firsthand. Let's see here. So it does have a magnesium alloy body now, which has some weather sealing apparently, so that's also pretty cool. And let's see, we also have, let's see here, I don't believe it's a touchscreen. It doesn't look like it's a touchscreen. It's interesting. We do have a high resolution viewfinder, 2.4 million dots, OLED type, so pretty cool there. Now, in addition to this new camera, Sony did release some new lenses. Oh, but before I get to that though too, I'm a little concerned though about this camera's cost. I think the A6000, those things have gotten so heavily discounted these days. I can't remember exactly how much the camera costs whenever it first launched, and yeah, I'm not going to dig through and try to find it online because I'm just too lazy right now. But I believe that the camera was like $899. I think it was like $899 or $999 whenever it first came out. This new A6300, though, is a bit more expensive. It's going for $1,000 USD for the body, and it's going for $1,150 with the 16-50 kit lens. So a little bit of an increase in cost. Aside from this new focusing, and let's see here, they've changed some things on the sensor. Looks like it benefits from some copper wiring, similar to what Sony did with their sensor in the RX100 Mark IV and RX10 Mark II. So that's nice. All this is going to translate to higher efficiency with the sensor, so that way you get better low light performance, things along those lines. And let's see, they did that, and they've got a focusing system and the microphone input, and of course 4K, and now a metal body. So the main differences, I don't know, to be honest with you, aside from that microphone jack, and of course the 4K, I guess, I mean, it'll be interesting to see if it can actually record for a decent amount of time in 4K. I guess the 4K doesn't surprise me too much, though, because it's become kind of standard fare these days. The microphone jack, oddly enough, is the thing I get the most excited about, like I mentioned. But really, aside from that, I'm actually kind of underwhelmed by this camera. I don't think, you know, it doesn't have the same type of command down interface we saw in the NEX7. You know, it pretty much looks exactly like an A6000. It's not really, I don't know. I personally think Sony has gotten a little bit lazy, but that's just me. Don't kill me, Sony fanboys, please. But yeah, I don't know. Okay, moving on to these lenses, though. They came out with the new 24-70 f2.8, and they have a new series of lenses, apparently. This is, they have Sony branded Zeiss lenses, and then they have G lenses, but these are a new series of lenses. These are called G Master lenses. So, okay, that sounds really fancy. And they have like a little, the little G on the side of them has got a little red sort of look to the logo, so I guess that means they really mean business. I have no doubt that these lenses are awesome, but I don't know, the fact that they decided to make a higher-end G-series lens, you know, as a photographer, that doesn't say a whole lot to me. As just like a, you know, it's just like a camera enthusiast, though, and someone who follows the photo market. To me, that sounds like Zeiss's branding is getting a little bit expensive, so Sony needed some other way to differentiate their higher-end lenses, as opposed to sticking a Zeiss sticker on them. But I don't know. That's just me. Once again, that shouldn't affect the price of the lens, but, you know, sorry, not price, performance of the lens. But I do find that interesting. So we have a 24-70 2.8. So that's very nice, and we have an 85mm 1.4. I do like how Zeiss or how Sony likes to actually put aperture rings on their lenses. That's something I find particularly attractive. And if these lenses feel like all of Sony's other lenses, I have no doubt that they will have a nice solid feel to that aperture ring. They also came out with a 70-200 2.8, and they came out with some teleconverters. They came out with a 1.4 teleconverter, as well as a 2x teleconverter. So kudos to Sony for finally coming out with some TCs. However, the biggest thing about this is that I just kind of have to wonder, you know, isn't it a little bit counterintuitive to come out with really big and heavy 2.8 glass for mirrorless cameras? Doesn't that kind of defeat the purpose? Anyways, I don't know. You guys will have to tell me what you think. But from where I'm sitting, having big and heavy 2.8 lenses, but with a very small camera body, is actually kind of counterproductive. Because if I'm going to have a big and heavy lens and be forced to carry that around, I'd at least like to have a proper size camera to be able to help balance out the weight. So having a very, very small camera body, but then a massive lens, I don't know, it seems kind of counterproductive to me. And of course, this brings me to another topic. Small body means small battery. And that's something else that doesn't seem to be improved on this new A6300 at all. From what I can tell, let's see here. Looks like it will do they say? Maybe they say, maybe they don't say. Let's see here. It does all of 400 photos per charge. So I suppose that's, you know, that's not too bad. Definitely not as bad as the full frame bodies. But yeah, I don't know. I feel kind of, yeah, you know, about this camera. But we'll have to see. As you guys know, I'm not a big fan of judging things before I get them in my hands. So I will be doing a proper test on this camera, just like I will be testing the D5 and D500. Looks like I'm going to be testing lots of cameras here soon. But whenever I get my hands on this camera, I'll be doing a proper test, and I will give you guys more of a formal type opinion on it once I have a chance to have it in my hands. I'm eager to know, though, what do you guys think about the state of mirrorless? Do you think it's going to be just a DSLR killer? Personally, I do think it will be a DSLR killer, but all these people that seem to think that that's going to happen like in the next couple of years, I think they need to stop dreaming. It's going to be several years, I think, before we see that happen. Do Nikon and Canon need to wake up? Absolutely, but I don't think they have anything to worry about just yet. Anyways, guys, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Write me in the comments below. Let me know what you're thinking about these new products. Until next time, this is Jeremy Smith, signing off.